Welcome to the Michigan Works Association 2020 Annual Conference. My name is Christine Klee. I am the Communication Specialist with the Michigan Works Association. On behalf of all the staff at the association and all our sponsors, we want to thank you for being part of this conference. This title is sessioned Collaborating, Creating, and Caring, Benefits of the Regional BRN Collaboration. I would like to first start out with a big shout out thanks to Oakland County Michigan Works for today sponsoring this workshop session. Our sponsors have helped make this conference happen, and we are very thankful for their support, along with our sponsors and exhibitors who have also given their time to be part of this event. Be sure to visit the exhibits booths during the designated exhibit hall times and show your support for them supporting this conference. Today, when we begin the session, just a few housekeeping items I want to share with you. If you do have any questions, we're going to have to put those in the chat and just hold those to the end. If there's time at the end, we'll maybe share those questions. If not, we'll hopefully get those questions out in the general chat at the end, or excuse me, the main stage chat. As I said before, if you would like to maximize your screen, just select any screen and you can click twice to maximize those videos, especially when there's a PowerPoint to read it better, you want to do that. Now I'd like to introduce your speakers for this session. We have Elizabeth Rivard-Weston, Retention Services and Apprenticeship Success Coordinator with the Oakland County Michigan Works. We have Cindy Thornthwaite, our Retention Services Manager at GST Michigan Works. Colin Miller, Talent Specialist and BRN Coordinator for the Michigan Works Macomb St. Clair. Jennifer Tucker, Business Resource Network Association with SEMCA. And Sandy Vance, who is not yet here, but she will be here shortly, our Service Center Manager with Michigan Works Southeast. So you guys are ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Colin Miller with Macomb St. Clair Workforce Development Board. We're really happy to be here to present the collaboration of our business resource networks in Southeast Michigan. Gonna just give you a little background. A lot of you may already be aware of what a BRN is, but I'm gonna start off with giving you a little background about what they are for those of you that maybe don't know. So a business resource network is a multi-employer collaborative. The goal is to reduce turnover and increase attendance and productivity. Ideally, a collaborative is made up with companies from 50 to 200 employees, and the company pays a fee based on the number of hours that they use our services per week. So that is the first part of the discussion when we're getting new companies in our collaboratives is how long they want our services per week. Originally, the program started out in West Michigan Works, so we have West Michigan Works to thank for the creation of the program. If anybody's listening from West Michigan, thank you. The original name was the ERN, Employer Resource Network, and now they're all across the state. Governor Snyder had the program for the entire state of Michigan. All Michigan Works offices offer this program. The program is known by different names in different parts of the state. In West Michigan, it's called the Source. In the Flint area in GST Michigan Works, they call it the Connection. But the BRN is the same program, and it is the BRN program throughout the state. Originally, it started with a company called Cascade Engineering that approached Michigan Works in Grand Rapids area, and that company had a huge turnover issue. They had about 40% turnover rate. So they approached Michigan Works, and the company was pretty open-minded and community-minded, which is ideal. And they were looking for solutions. They were willing to go outside of their company to find them. So they worked with Michigan Works and came up with this concept. So basically, the concept is the key part of the concept is a success coach. So the success coach does connect the employees of member companies with resources. And the BRNs operate like an EAP. They have a counselor, but instead of a counselor, the employees meet with what's called a success coach. And the success coach is the key person, and they direct them to resources to resolve problems that they're having that may be affecting their work and their attendance. So the idea, again, is to encourage employees to even advance within their own companies. Often, many times, there's no written policies for advancements in companies. It's also known as career laddering. And so one of the things the success coach does is help the employee realize what the policies are, if they are written, and if they're not written, to be able to reach out to the right people in the company to help them to figure out how they can move up the ladder. One of the other key things that this program does is it takes pressure off human resources. And so we like to ask the HR directors of these companies, how many times do employees approach you about non-work related issues? And we usually just get blasted with responses because, as you know, the HR person in any company is a very busy person, and they wear many hats. So they do hiring, payroll, benefits administration, training, and most of all, in a lot of companies, especially smaller ones, they're kind of a counselor. So again, this is a way that we can take pressure off human resources by using this program and using the success coach. And the success coach will be meeting with those employees and hopefully heading off some of those issues that later might affect their time and attendance. So that helps create a more reliable and a stable workforce, and it keeps the employees happy. Another benefit of the BRN is that it increases usage of existing programs such as EAPs, tuition assistance, 401k investment, retirement, and training. So we noticed that, a lot of times when these problems are brought to the HR people, they may not have time to do the research and to go through all the benefits. The employee might have gotten that when they first were hired, but so that's something that our success coach can help do. And I don't know if Sandy's there. We can.
I can jump in. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I joined on my phone.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. I can jump in on Sandy's part. When she joins us, we can.
Okay.
So next up, we're going to discuss how to build a business resource network. So building off of what Colin said, BRNs are really an employer-driven program. So really how to build one is you need to gather a group of employers in your
Sandy's still not able to join, so if you want to skip her part and continue on. I'm not sure who was next. They're still having some technical difficulties getting her access.
Thanks, Christine. So what you would do is you gather a group of employers that are interested in reducing employee turnover within their companies. So the way you do this is really by networking. So it's by presenting whenever you have the chance to promote this great program. It really helps to have an employer champion. So
do you guys know who was next?
Can you hear Liz? Can you hear Liz?
No, I can't hear Liz.
Oh, really?
No, I'm sorry. Can you try again, Liz? My video is very scratchy for you.
You can't hear me?
Can you hear Liz?
Uh-oh.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Jen and Cindy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It looks like
I can hear you, Liz.
Can people put in the chat box if they can hear me or not, please?
Okay. Yep. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So basically what we're trying to do is engage as many employers as possible that are interested in reducing turnover within their company. So it really helps to have an employer champion. So sometimes that's usually like the first company that you really engage that really buys into the success coaching model. And it's really beneficial to bring them with you when you're presenting, or if other companies have questions about the program or whether or not it can be beneficial for their company. It's nice to be able to introduce them to a company that's really engaged with this particular program. We highly recommend sharing success stories, and if there's any metrics about program success, we find that to be a very powerful tool as well. Something that's unique to the Southeast Michigan region is we partnered or contracted really with WIN, which is the Workforce Intelligence Network, and they did a turnover study, again, focusing on Southeast Michigan. So us BRN coordinators really use the results of that turnover study to leverage the importance of adding the business resource network to the company. Because, when you can show what is the actual turnover rate in your particular region, putting in a program that directly addresses that, we find to be very powerful. And kind of the last tip is offer a test drive of the program. So we will talk about it a little bit. There is a pay-to-play model that the employers follow in order to gain access to this program. So, offering, if you can, a free trial of the program, we find to be very beneficial. So, Colin, I think you are next.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how BRNs add value, and picking up with what Liz just said about reducing turnover. That was really the basis for, as I said, Cascade Engineering working with Michigan Works to create the program. So that's a key part of our program, and the way we like to sell it to companies is that the cost of one employee leaving equals the cost of the minimum hourly time that they can sign up for this program. So 2 hours a week of meeting with a success coach. So that's a good way to sell it to an employer, so they can look at the data and see for themselves, turnover based on the study that Liz mentioned in our areas is approximately $4,500 per employee. So that's how much the employee or the employer can save using the program. And of course, we anticipate that we're going to be saving a lot more jobs than just one, but that is a good way to explain it to the employer. So it also increases productivity. With the support of the success coach, employees can focus on work, and they can focus on being at work. That's a big problem that we hear from all of our HR people is, attendance and time is a huge issue. So removing barriers is another major part of the program that is kind of the success coach's role. So those barriers could be financial, physical, emotional, psychological. They could be transportation, it could be housing, or any of those things. And so the coach works to reduce or remove those barriers or make them workable. The connection with community resources is really another key part of the program. And our success coaches do more than just have knowledge of programs. They actually join partner groups with other agencies that offer resources, and they meet monthly with them, because if you know one thing about resources is they change a lot. Funding dries up, and personnel changes. So it's really important for the success coach to be up to date on all those things and not just have a piece of paper that they're handing out that's 2 or 3 months old. So it's important for them to maintain a connection with the resources that they're working with and know if there's been changes. So it's also important to and I'm sorry, I stayed on the same screen, didn't I?
Yeah, can you advance the slide?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
So the support system is really key. A lot of people don't have a support system, and that's where, of course, they get in trouble. A lot of us who are fortunate to have family and friends, if we need a ride at work or something like that, or we need someone to take our child to the doctor, those are things a lot of people don't have. So the success coach can be part of a support system for the employees. And of course, that helps the employees be more satisfied. It builds their morale. Our coaches have had calls from employees after they've actually left their companies. So they've maintained those connections with them because they've trusted them and they are part of their support system. So the employer of choice is really the idea that employers would value this program so much that they would include it in their information they talk about their companies and any kind of advertising they do to potential employees about, here's one of the reasons you may want to come and work for us. We have great salary, great benefits, and we also have this BRN program. So we actually encourage employers to put that in their onboarding information so that the employees have that information right away. And we found that to be very successful. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how to fund a BRN. And Liz?
Yeah, so the Michigan Works agencies across the state did receive an allocation to launch this program. But in addition to using internal funds to support the program, some Michigan Works agencies have actually sought out special funding or grants in order to supplement the work done in this particular program. Also, I referenced a little earlier that employers can pay or do pay a yearly membership fee in order to support the program as well. So I guess you could almost think of it as we receive the seed funding from the state with the intention of building out that model where companies do put some money towards this particular program. So the way it ends up working out is the time of the success coach, the cost of the success coach is split among the companies that are participating. But like I said, some organizations did seek out funding as well to support the program. I believe United Way is one of the funding sources that Cindy, right, GST has to support the program. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So Colin, back to you.
Okay, so services. Services can be provided by community referrals and or program funding. So the first duty of the success coach when meeting with employees is to find an existing resource in the community. And before we start spending any of our program funding, that's what they're charged with. But so it's important to realize that there's also eligibility for the individuals that are going to take advantage of this program. So the employees have to meet certain criteria to be eligible for funding, but the way that we sell the program to employers is that even if the employees aren't eligible, if they don't meet any of the eligibility guidelines, that they still can receive success coach services and be referred to community resources. So if they are eligible for the program, then we can support them with supportive services. So we listed some of them here, the most common ones. The most common two are actually these first two, transportation and housing. Those are the two biggest asks that the success coach has from employees. They either have problems with their transportation, they don't have a car, they have a car but it needs to be repaired, they need a new car, maybe they're on the bus route and they need bus tickets. So so we can help with any of those things, and that's one of the great things about the program. It's very flexible, and so we've been able to help people repair their car, and repairs are things like tires or exhaust system or work on the engine or anything like that. And then those kinds of services are really to make sure that the car is safe and legally able to be driven on the road. And so it doesn't include things like if you have a dent in your fender, we don't pay for those kind of things. So, or painting your car. So, and then the other things that I mentioned about bus tickets, those are available for individuals, through our program, or sometimes those are things that are available through the various bus companies. So, we can do car purchase as well. In fact, we've done quite a few in our area. And depending on which Michigan Works your area you're in, the amount that you might have for a car purchase might vary slightly. But all of the Michigan Works BRNs offer car purchase. Housing is also another huge one. And again, this is where the role of success coach is so important. It's not just about maybe paying a rent payment or even a mortgage payment. Those are huge, but our coaches actually go out and find housing for people. They're involved in working with landlords and apartment owners, and they get involved with those to that level, and that's how they're successful. Work tools is also another one. If you're required to have boots, steel-toe boots, or uniform, even some other specialized tools, if you're like a machinist and you need micrometers or calipers, those are things that that we can pay for with our funds and supported services. Financial coaching is something that we require for anybody that requires a supportive service from us and meets the eligibility guidelines. They have to meet with the success coach and do a budget, and they're also required to figure out a savings plan. So for some people, that's pretty tough, but it's also something that's very valuable to them, right, as they want to plan and keep out of trouble, because our program is all about teaching people to fish, not just giving them a fish. And finally, the bridge loan program is something that some of the BRNs have entered into agreements with local banks or with credit unions, and they've offered a short-term loan for the employees through that agreement with the bank or credit union. It could be up to $1,000, and this is another way to help a person. They obviously could use that money to pay for rent or housing or some other bills. There are some limits to what we can pay for. We don't pay for fines or court costs, so they might be able to use that money for things that our program, the BRN program, does not cover. So now I would like to turn it over to Jen. She's going to show us a video from SEMCA that'll tell you a little bit more about the program.
Thanks, Colin. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Sorry we're not in person, but we're having a great session. Thanks for your time learning a little bit more about our BRN collaboration. I'm Jen Tucker from Southeast Michigan Community Alliance, and I just want to share one positive that came out of 2020 is the creation of a video that helps us explain the program and showcase it from several perspectives, such as the coach and the employer themselves. It's also an efficient way to aid in program outreach by being able to send a link and view it quickly. When you speak to employers, several people on their team have questions, all sorts of different questions. So this video can quickly circulate internally from human resources to shift managers to CFOs, making it easier to get these questions all answered. Let's take a look right now and check out the video for yourself. Cindy, can you play that, please?
You bet.
Is the audio working? I can't hear it.
So it doesn't sound like audio is on at this time, but I want to share, and I can type in chat. If you want to check out the microsite where this video lives or on YouTube, you can just simply type in connectionsbrn.org. That's where the video can be found. Since we're not hearing audio at this time, I'll ad-lib a little bit. You'll notice in the video several employers are sharing their story and just screenshots from internally inside their team. And we also have our success coach who is going through, some of the issues that she comes up with people and some of those challenges and barriers to remain full-time employed. The video does a much better job at explaining it than I just did, but it is just a great tool to have. And I want to say thank you to the others on our BRN collaboration, because when we didn't have one to share, we were sharing yours. We were sharing footage of other employers and other employees' point of views, and that really helps to explain what the BRN is and how it can help people on their team.
So we are almost at 10:40. So in the interest of time, I'm wondering if we should stop the video and move on in the presentation. Would you guys agree?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So next up is best practices. So Jen, that is still you.
Great. So as a best practice, we share what works well within our groups. Hosting monthly employer status updates and bringing in guest speakers is a good idea, especially when a topic is highly requested in the area, such as needs for transportation. Recently, we had a representative from SmartBus and also one from Commute with Enterprise to showcase their programs as a value add for the employers in our network. Coaches do weekly emails directly to employers, highlighting any community resources they can share with their team, such as assistance with utilities or local food pantries. It's especially helpful now in the season where many are working remotely. So finally, we have connected our success coaches to provide peer-to-peer networking support. Sandy, well, Colin now, can you give us a few more details regarding this program?
I think, actually, Colin, it looks like our PowerPoint went away. So the next slide was actually a breakdown of the 6 Michigan Works BRN in our particular region. So,
okay, let me see if I can. I apologize.
That's okay. While you're bringing it up, I can add some words to what that looks like. So both Cindy and Jen are going to talk a little bit more about our collaborative, but kind of as a precursor. So Detroit Employment Solutions, or Detroit at Work, has 1 business resource network and 2 coaches. GST Michigan Works has 1 network with 2 full-time coaches and 1 part-time coach. Macomb St. Clair Michigan Works has 2 networks and 6 success coaches. Michigan Works Southeast has 5 networks with 5 coaches. Oakland County Michigan Works has 1 network with 3 coaches, and SEMCA has 2 networks with 2 coaches. And the number of companies within our networks range from 6 all the way up to 40. So again, it kind of depends on the region size. You know, it kind of, just like with all Michigan Works programming, it kind of depends on a lot with the region. But as you can see, our graph is now on the screen, so you can kind of get a visual for what I was just describing. So next up is actually Cindy and Jennifer. They're going to talk about developing the regional collaborative that we developed.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Okay.
Loud and clear.
I'm not sure what was going on with the video. I could hear the video just fine, but fun technical difficulties this week.
Right.
Happy Monday.
That's right. We'll get it all smoothed out for the next group coming up.
So Colin, I think
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Our 6 agencies met on a regular basis through the SEMWAC group at the Southfield Library. And I'm sure most of you probably remember attending one of those meetings at some point in time. And being cast into the newly created role of a BRN coordinator, we naturally gravitated towards each other. On June 18th of 2019, we began meeting on a monthly basis. First, we took turns hosting each other at our individual service centers. And then during the winter months, we decided that we didn't want to drive. So we started meeting virtually, and then COVID hit, and the rest is the same story as why we're here today. But over the last year and a half, we have become a very close-knit group, and we know that we can count on each other. And meeting through the SEMWAC was actually the catalyst that brought us all together. And Jennifer, I think you're up.
Sure. Thank you, Cindy. We meet monthly or more often as needed to review policies, manuals, and promotional materials as a group. Things we might each be using, such as new flyers for our success coach or updating brochures, different language, things like that. We share ideas on what may help our coaches themselves or within individual areas. So our next slide talks a little bit about making referrals. Our great working relationships have made it helpful to refer others to the right people when companies have multiple locations throughout Michigan. And that's especially important when you have a company that has various locations throughout different counties. So knowing each other well makes it easy to connect employers with the BRN coordinators, no matter where they're located throughout the state. So Cindy's going to discuss our United Voice a little bit more now.
Thanks, Jen. As a group, there's 6 of us, and because of technical difficulties, obviously Sandy's not able to join us in right now. And then we also have Nihal. She is a part of our group. She's not presenting today, but she is. I know she's in the room. I saw her. But as a group, we feel safe with each other, And we understand the needs of each other because each Michigan Works agency only has one BRN coordinator. So we've come to rely heavily on each other for support, knowledge, and clarification because there's only one of us in each agency, but together we can figure all these little details out. When new policies and manuals are released, we always get together, we discuss our thoughts, any changes that were made to the policies and manuals that we would like to be clarified or redefined, and those that we don't necessarily agree with and we want addressed. So we do have one designated member who can take our questions to the state and get those clarifications. Jennifer?
Thanks, Cindy. With being one of the newest to this group, I found this collaboration invaluable. You don't have to feel like the lone BRN person at your facility. This really is a BRN family of people, and we all help each other. Now, Cindy's going to share a little bit more about the resources and benefits of this collaboration.
Okay, so on this slide, you're going to see specific examples that are related to GST area only. Each one of our agencies have resources and other examples that are unique to our individual area. But you may be wondering, how exactly does our collaboration assist with finding resources for the BRN employees? Whether they are part of our individual network or they belong to one of the other networks within our collaborative. We know that each Michigan Works agency has unique needs for their specific BRN employees. And what works for one of us, it won't necessarily work for the other, but we can reach out to each other when a situation arises that we may be unfamiliar with. One example, Colin reached out to me previously for one of his BRN employees who worked at one of his employers, but this individual resided in Genesee County. And this person needed assistance with clothing and transportation. And our success coach from GST was able to reach out to him and point him in the right direction. And this allowed him to receive the resources that were necessary for him to retain his employment with one of Colin's employers. As much as we like to think that we know everything that's available in our respective regions, that may not always be the case. And it helps to have contacts to point you in the direction where you should be headed. We never find ourselves in a situation where we cannot reach out to each other. We have actually come to depend on each other quite a lot. And it has been a very wonderful and worthwhile experience. And we're going to talk about benefits of having this collaboration. So you may be asking yourself, what is the true benefit of forming a collaboration like ours? First and foremost, we never feel alone. We may be the only BRN coordinator for our area, but we're not alone. And not only have we formed a true collaboration and help each other out along the way, but we have also formed friendships. You never feel like you're a bother when you reach out to one of the other members. We're there to support each other down this path. Together as a collaborative, we pull resources, we plan, and we truly depend on each other. For instance, in the case of our Success Coach Summit, we work together as a team to plan and present valuable information to our success coaches. Liz is going to explain more on that now. Liz?
Yes, thank you, Cindy. So one of the things that I feel very safe in saying that we're most proud of that we've accomplished through this collaborative is planning a summit for success coaches. One of the things that each of us BRN coordinators were hearing individually from our coaches was that they were looking for some sort of training or some sort of support to help them be better in their roles. So we took that information and did our best to condense it into a half-day meeting for our coaches to essentially learn a little bit more about their jobs and to get some ideas and to collaborate with other coaches in the region. So Colin, if you could advance the slides. The next one, please.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So in terms of planning the summit, the BRN coordinators, we each went back to our coaches and talked to them about what is it that they actually wanted to discuss in the summit. And with their feedback, we actually built out the agenda. So really, this was their summit that, we did the legwork and the lift and putting it together, but the content that we discussed was really driven by what the coaches needed and what they requested. So to break up the day, we also decided to add a keynote speaker. We built out the agenda, and of us 6 coordinators, 5 of us facilitated the conversation. We all took turns in doing that, and one of us took notes in order to document the day's happenings. And then, as a nice thing for the coaches, we gathered some Michigan Works branded giveaways, and Sandy from Michigan Works Southeast was able to actually secure lunch for the group. So that was a nice thing that we were able to do. So Colin, if you could go to the next slide, please. So instead of me telling you exactly what happened, we thought it might actually be more helpful to see the agenda of the day. So as you can see, we started with lunch, we moved into an icebreaker, welcome and introductions, and then we had our first breakout discussion. And at that time, we focused on process, procedure, and best practices. Then our keynote speaker, we had James Bitterly from EDSI, and the presentation was titled Success Coaches Succeeding in Today's Environment. And then we followed that up with our second breakout discussion, which was resource sharing. And we had our closing remarks, and we made sure to reserve the room a little bit longer so the coaches could network afterwards. So Colin, if you could go to the next slide, please. So something, just to dive in a little bit deeper, I'm not sure how large it is on your screen because on my phone it's about that big, but what we did for our coordinators is we built out an annotated agenda. So as you can see, this is the same agenda, but in red, there are some additional talking points. And each of those questions listed under our breakout discussions are questions that the coaches actually asked of us to discuss. So if the coach wasn't necessarily feeling comfortable bringing it up, or if there was a lull in the conversation, us coordinators had something to fall back on to really keep that conversation going. So Colin, next slide, please. Thank you. And then as with any sort of presentation, like I'm sure you will receive today, we did pass out a survey because we wanted to make sure that, we hit what we needed to hit with this. So this is just a snapshot of what that survey looked like, but the next slide actually is the breakdown of the results. And that actually, I don't know if it'll be on there. Can you go to the next slide? Oh, it is, good. So our first question was, did you find the summit to be useful? So that green bar is strongly agree. So you can see 10 of our attendees did find it to be useful. Our second question was, how likely are you to attend a future summit? Again, the green bar is the highest. 12 of our attendees strongly agreed with that statement that they would attend a future summit. We asked if it was a good use of their time. 10 of the attendees strongly agreed. And our last question was, would you like the future summit to be longer than a half-day session? So we really didn't know with this one. When we were talking about planning it, and as I'm sure you're thinking about, our coaches, their job is really on site at the company. Obviously with COVID, it's a little different right now, but taking and planning something for them to attend potentially takes them off the floor working with the employees of our BRN companies. So we wanted to see, where are they at in terms of time committed to something like this. And it was kind of a wash. It looks like a half day is probably the best based on their responses. So Colin, if you could go to the next slide. So on this next slide, we break out question number 5, which is our only open-ended question. So it asks, what did you want to learn or hear about that we did not cover? So 2 folks responded that they were interested in learning more about measuring retention. Someone suggested that our keynote could focus on motivational interviewing. And our last takeaway from this was the coaches requested some sort of forum so they could communicate in real time. Of these responses and our open-ended question, the one that we acted on was we created a mailing list and distributed it to the coaches and encouraged them to use it, if they needed some sort of assistance in their role in real time. So if you go to the next slide, please. We'll talk about lessons learned. Oh, next slide. Thank you. So with lessons learned, we found that it's actually best not to include the BRN coordinators. Since this is a training for the coaches, basically made by the coaches, it kind of made sense to take the pressure off by excusing basically the program administrator from the room and allow them to connect in their own time and in their own way. And something that I'm particularly passionate about is, while it's important to highlight the program similarities, like any program that stretches across the state, there's going to be some regional differences, and that may be in the way that the services are delivered. In this case, it really isn't. The coaches are providing coaching pretty much in the same way across at least our six regions, but the differences are kind of important here. So when I say differences, I'm really talking about process and procedure. So each of us, while our forms probably ask the same questions, our forms aren't the same, and the process and procedure internally is not the same. So when you are facilitating and encouraging your coaches to connect, it's important to keep that in mind and highlight it, that if they have a question about, submitting a form or, issuing a gas card or something like that, it's really important to connect with that BRN coordinator, because if they connect with a coach in another region, their process could be completely different. So it is important to ensure that, when putting on a training like this, that the coaches do understand that. So if you could go to the next slide, Colin. Thank you. So our summit was a success, and we heard from the coaches that they really wanted to do it again. So actually almost a year later, so we did the summit last October. So later this week, actually, our coaches are meeting again for the Success Coach Summit 2.0. And as you can see, we have their proposed, actually, it looks like we're on different slides, but either way, what they'll be discussing at the next Success Coach Summit is the well-informed coach versus the well-intended coach, workplace stability, trauma-informed care, resourcing resources, paperwork and statistics, self-care, and COVID-19. So the cool thing is that, when we met as a group and said we would like to do this, Cindy said, one of my coaches can definitely handle doing this. So one of Cindy's coaches actually reached out to all the other success coaches, scheduled it, worked with them to put together the agenda. And like I said, they're meeting later this week. While we know about it kind of on the fringes, this is really their thing. So we're really excited for them to meet. So we're actually running really short on time. So I'm just diving in to the next step. So it looks like that is, I'm thinking, I guess it was, like I said, it's this big on my phone. So with our next steps, when we were talking about this presentation, we were really trying to think of who might be in the audience. So we kind of listed out who that would be. And when we were talking about what those next steps are, depending on your role, it really all kind of came down to the same thing. If you were inspired by any part of this presentation, it would be really great if you connected with the BRN coordinator in your particular region. So if you're a service provider that has grant funding to help with, say, like transportation or food resources or something like that, I'm sure the BRN coordinator and the coaches would love to hear about it, because as Colin was talking about, there is an aspect of this program where we, or the coaches, refer out into the community to receive help and assistance. Now, if you're interested in developing a collaborative, we definitely recommend reaching out to the BRN coordinators in your neighboring regions and just setting the date. Even if that first agenda is sparse and you don't know what you're doing yet, really the first step is just meeting and getting to know each other and learning a little bit more about each other's programs, how many coaches you have, what are your employers like, meaning like, are they manufacturers, are they in healthcare, what does that look like? And then, if you're inspired by, the Success Coach Summit, again, I'm going to lean back on building out that collaborative. You could do that internally for your coaches that you have, or, you can get together and have all the coaches in your particular region and discuss the things that, are kind of burning questions for them. So really, all signs point back to the BRN coordinator in your area. And if you're in a position that you actually aren't familiar with or know the BRN coordinator, you're more than welcome to reach out to any of us, and we can definitely, get you connected to the right person in your area. So with that said, if we can go to the last slide, please. Did it work? Thank you.
It should be up. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So as you can see, this is all of our contact information. Not all of us presented today, but we wanted to make sure that there was representation and that you were able to connect with, the Michigan Works that made the most sense for you. So this is our contact information, and I know we have just a little bit of time left, but we welcome any questions that you may have. So I cannot see the chat box, so I don't know, Cindy, Colin, Jen, or Sandy, if you can.
I don't, yeah, hold on.
There's only one question in the chat box right
Oh,
now.
looks like Christine's coming back.
Would it be possible to distribute the mailing list for the coaches across the state that didn't attend?
I'll take that. This is Sandy. Hey, sorry, I had some major IT technical difficulties, not on our end. So what this whole presentation is about is collaborating. So what we would encourage is having you get a collaboration together and share your success coaches information. I know the state at one time had asked collectively, and we did right in the very beginning send our success coach information. So I don't know if that's something the state wants to do again, but some of our success coaches are DHHS staff and some are Michigan Works staff. So I know I wouldn't be comfortable just sending the email contacts. I would encourage you to get a collaboration going. That's what this whole presentation was about.
What was the question? Could you read the question, please?
I gotta find it again, hang on.
It's okay.
Can I learn more about being
the success coaches email?
Okay, thank you.
Right, and it looks like we had one other question at the end. Can I learn more about being part of the conversation with other coaches?
I guess I'm not sure I quite understand the question. Are you wanting to learn more about our summit or about putting on a summit in your region? And again, I apologize, I can't see the responses.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Penny, if you can explain it a little bit more. She says the conversation from the summit earlier this summer. So I'm guessing that Penny maybe is a coach.
Okay. So I'm guessing here, but the Michigan Works Association actually put on a training for the success coaches. I think it was in early August. And what the Michigan Works Association did and what this collaborative success coach summit are different. So if you want more information on the training that the association put on earlier this summer, I recommend connecting with the Michigan Works Association.
Yeah, Penny says, I was there and I am not aware of the conversation of this week. Is that different?
Oh. Yeah, so the Success Coach Summit 2 is, again, something that we did for our region. So that has nothing to do with the association. It's a training put on by our coaches for the coaches that are employed in the Southeast Michigan region. So that's DESC or Detroit at Work, Michigan Works, GST Michigan Works, SEMCA, Oakland County Michigan Works, Michigan Works Southeast, and that's us, right?
Macomb, St. Clair.
Oh, Macomb, St. Clair. Sorry, Colin. Sorry.
I might add that's one of the things that has made our group so successful, because we are within close proximity of each other. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we do work with multiple employers that maybe they have a facility in Wayne County and in Macomb County or Oakland County as well as St. Clair. So to have a group that's closer in proximity would add a lot of value to your team wherever. If you're operating in the UP, Northern Michigan, on the west side, on the east side, to have a collaboration that's within your own local, like the regional footprint there, I think would be hold the most value. Because I know that's one of the things that I've really appreciated about our group is we're all, even though we're miles apart, we're all within surrounding counties.
Absolutely. A lot of the resources are the same.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And as Cindy mentioned earlier, I will say we were at an advantage because this region already had a history with meeting with one another and sharing resources in that way. So that's the thing, I'm actually newer to the Michigan Works system, so I'm not sure if that regional approach is taken elsewhere in the state, but like I said, the birth of this particular collaborative came out of kind of our historic connection in this region.
All right. Does anyone else have any other questions? All right. We are eager for your feedback on how this conference and this session went. So please take a moment to complete a short survey. The link up to the survey is posted in the chat area. So this ends our presentation for today. I would like to thank our presenters for doing a wonderful job. I apologize for the technical difficulties we're having this morning. You know, as a new virtual platform, we're all getting used to it. We do really appreciate everyone's time. I hope you had some really great takeaways and you all enjoyed this feature of the conference. Next is our exhibitor and network break. Please take time after the session to video chat with exhibitors or watch their informational video, or you can go to our network tab and randomly be paired with an attendee for 2 minutes to a way to meet new people. It's kind of like a speed dating, but for colleagues and meeting new people across the state. So definitely go check that out. So that ends our session. Have a great day. And if you do have any questions following this, still go ahead and put in the chat and we'll hopefully get those answers to you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.